Hi everyone, I'm Sam. I'm here to talk to you about the creative industries, careers in the creative industries. Let's get going because we've got a limited time. This talk is roughly about 10 to 15 minutes long, so it won't take too much time. First, who am I? What gives me the authority to talk to you about the creative industries? Why do I know so much about the creative industries? So yes, I'm Sam. This picture is me and my business partner, May. We run a company called Eric. So Eric is a completely free to use career app for young people and schools who want to know more about the creative industries and take their first steps in. But we're going to pause on that. Well, you guys are on the website anyway, so you can have a little look around. But I'll tell you a very short little bit about Eric at the end. Okay. May and I have specialised in careers education about the creative industries for about 7 years now. And although we know what the creative industries looks like in 2022, it has come to our attention that actually lots of people out there, most people out there don't know. And that's not your fault. It's the fault of the creative industries for not doing a good enough job for telling you what it's like in 2023. So that's what my job is. I'm here to show you how cool, how amazing, how big, how lucrative, wealthy the creative industries is in this day and age, and shatter your current image of what careers in the creative industries is. So let's get straight into it. Okay, what are the creative industries? The big number one question that I imagine you guys have is, what the hell is the creative industries? Well, did you know that there are 16 different creative industries? Most people don't know that. So it certainly isn't the traditional image of just music, art and fashion that most people tend to think of. That's what they tend to reduce the creative industries down to. It includes major player industries as well, like advertising and marketing and PR. It includes games, design, and all of the creativity that operates online as well. All of those industries, multi-billion-pound industries in their own right. And there are 16 industries nice and clearly laid out for you there. You can download the slides if you want from the same page that we're on right now. Okay, so it's important to be aware of how much the creative industries has changed. So the creative industries that the adults around you experience, so that might be your parents, extended family, or possibly even teachers, the creative industries that they experienced is completely different to the creative industries that you guys are experiencing now and that you will experience when you go into any careers within. So when you get an adult saying to you that there's no stability, no money, no future in creative jobs, that is simply not true. It may have been true for them when they were growing up, and that's totally fine. That's why they think that is the case. That's not their fault. But it is a completely different story for you guys. In fact, you have at least 100 times more chance of getting a well-paying, steady job in the creative industries than any of the adults around you had. And they are future-proof jobs. And why is that? Why are there 100 times more jobs in the creative industries than when the adults around you were growing up? Well, the rise of technology alone in the last 20 years, 30 years, has made creativity almost completely unrecognizable to how it was before the internet went mainstream. And by mainstream, I mean when it became normal to have a computer in an everyday household. Technology has enabled everyone to be creative in the space of their own homes and make money out of it if they want. It's also created entire new departments of businesses. For example, every business now needs someone doing their social media, which is a creative role, or creating content, creative role. And it's even created entire new industries in the creative sector that are already bigger than most of the traditional ones. So let's have a look at the growth, the specific industries, which ones have grown the most. Okay. Which ones are most likely to have loads of jobs available, which I imagine is a big question on your minds. The ones with the ticks next to them, so for example, games, have had absurd levels of growth in the last 20, 30 years. So since the internet kind of really took off. Games is a great example of this. So games has doubled in size in the last 10 years alone. Streaming has not just become an activity in itself, but it's also now a form of spectator sport. A really exciting, interesting stat, esports is due to overtake popularity of sports and number of spectators. It's due to overtake in the next 10 years all of the traditional sports combined. So that means football, rugby, swimming, any kind of stuff like that. Esports is due to have more spectators watching it than all of those sports combined in the next 10 years, which is kind of mad. So that shows you how much it's growing. And games is no longer limited to just sitting on a computer or using a console. You can totally game on your phone anywhere you want. So the accessibility of games that the internet has brought and technology has brought has contributed hugely to that extreme level of growth. So it is a huge industry now. And as I said before, some of these industries in the creative industries are brand new. So they weren't really around 20 or 30 years ago because they rely on hyperspeed computers and the internet to exist. So if we look down here at number 16, VFX and animation is a really good example of that. Lots of people don't know what VFX is. It's an acronym that stands for visual effects. So if you've seen a green screen in action on a YouTube video, let's say, you know how they always have like backstage footage of what goes on in like Game of Thrones or like the Avengers movies, all of that kind of stuff. That is the VFX industry. So anything with a green screen, anything that is basically computerizing an image to be consumed through a screen. So yeah, it's a massive industry, but it wasn't really around 20, 30 years ago. So has everyone seen the Avengers movies? I imagine they probably have. Well, over 50% of all those films are computer generated. So it just goes to show how much VFX is used in like blockbuster movies down to little independents. And the prediction is that in another 10 years' time, over 50% of all films created will be computer generated. They're even scanning the faces of movie stars right now in order to be able to use digital versions of those actors when they die. Why? Why are they doing that? Why go to all that effort? Because as computers get more powerful, VFX is actually becoming a cheaper option for making entertainment. So there may not even be a need for real-time actors in the future. We might actually be using VFX, CGI animated versions of actors, in the future. So your chances of becoming an actor may actually decline, but your chances of being a VFX artist could well go skyrocketing through the roof, and you could be paid loads of money for that. So that's how much this sector is growing. But this is what you guys are battling against. So up here where it says artists, singers, and actors, when anyone says the words creative industries, these tend to be the only jobs that people can think of. And that is what you've probably been told by adults for many, many years, that those are the only jobs, but that is simply not the case. So there are actually 3.3 million people working in creative jobs in the UK. That's 1 in 11 jobs in the UK are classified as creative. As a comparison stat, because sometimes that number can be a bit abstract, the STEM industry employs 2.4 million people. So there are nearly 1 million more creative jobs available than there are STEM jobs. So we all know how exciting the STEM industry is. The creative industry is even more competitive, and there are even more jobs available. So let's quickly talk about how wide you can go in your creative career search. First of all, you do not have to choose between corporate or creative. There are 1 million people doing creative jobs in the corporate industry. So that is on the right-hand side of that slide just there. If you want to be a designer, you don't have to limit yourself to being a designer in a design agency. You can totally be a designer for a law firm or for the government or for a restaurant, like whatever you want to do, whichever industry you want to work in, there are always creative jobs available. And then vice versa. On the other side, there are obviously a huge amount of people doing corporate jobs in the creative world. So let's say you love the sound of architecture, but you don't have the skills to be an architect. You can totally be an administrator for an architecture firm, or you can work in HR at an art gallery, or you can be a developer for a fashion brand. It's totally possible to overlap between the two worlds. And the examples that I put here in both categories are just a tiny, tiny snippet of examples of the different things that you can do when you want to overlap those two different creative and non-creative worlds. So do have an investigation into what else you can do that is an overlap between the two. And if you do decide that you want to work in the creative industries, you do not have to choose between, you don't have to choose one specific industry either. All of the creative industries overlap and bleed into each other now. So you can aim to go into an area that combines 2 or even 3 or 4 passions of yours. So let's say you're a film obsessive, but your skill is design. You can become a graphic designer for a film company. That is something that exists. If you love games and advertising and you can't choose between the two, but you want a career in one of those areas, you can work at an advertising company that specializes in promoting video games. And there are hundreds of companies out there in the UK that do that exact thing. So you do not have to choose one industry and just stick to it. You can choose loads, you can mix and match. So make sure that you aren't limiting yourself by thinking in a linear mindset. Your creative options are far wider than you think they are, and you can tailor your career path to what really interests you on multiple levels. So how big and exciting are the creative industries right now? What does the creative landscape really look like? What are your chances of getting a job? So I've assembled together 4 of the biggest out-of-date perceptions of the creative industries that should help give you confidence that this is a viable career path for absolutely everyone. Okay. The first out-of-date myth that I want to debunk is that the only subjects that feed through into the creative industries are art, design, music, and drama. You do not have to study any of these subjects if you don't want to in order to work in the creative industries. Every single one of the school subjects feed directly into the creative world. So here is just a snippet again of examples of how different subjects can feed into various different creative industries. Actually, what I'd like to have done, if I could redo this slide, is just have the list of the different subjects that you can do at school, and then under every single one, just list all of the creative industries, because no matter what subject you want to choose, any skill set, any subject can feed into any of the creative industries. I'm going to give you a really tangible example of how that might work in practice. So there are 588 crew jobs on a film set on average. So that is not including cast. That is literally just backstage people. 600, that's crazy. That's a lot of people, hundreds. These jobs require a variety of skills and backgrounds. Doing a drama GCSE or A-level isn't even relevant for most of those 600 roles available. If you have one, that's great. It's not going to count against you, but it is not a requirement. Carpentry, sound engineering, historical fact checking. That's one of my favorite film jobs that are often advertised. They employ historians to fact check historical scripts and things like that, period dramas. Body language specialists. All of these jobs are things that you can actually do on a film set. So there are none of them require a drama GCSE or A-level or degree. There are so many things you can do in film alone that a drama qualification doesn't even touch upon, but you can totally still work in film if you don't have one. Just to kind of recap on that, the GCSEs or A-levels that you choose now will not limit your chances of getting into the creative industries. Everyone is needed and everyone is wanted. The second myth is that people don't think the creative industries is particularly big, and it wasn't really before the internet. It was a fraction of the size of it is now. Here are some really big stats that, adults are always good. They're always into stats. So you can whip these ones out when the next time someone challenges you about how big and, how many careers are in the creative industries. So the creative industries actually generates around £120 billion to the UK economy every single year. So like it says here in the orange speech bubble, that is more than automotive, that's making cars, life sciences, aerospace, and oil and gas combined. The creative industries makes more money for the UK economy than all of those industries together. So yeah, you can see from these slides, from this slide, that it is big. There are a lot of people working in there, and it makes a hell of a load of money. The third myth is that it's a badly paid industry. When people say the creative industries, lots of people have images of struggling artists living paycheck to paycheck, but that absolutely isn't the case. Entertainment and advertising in particular are hugely profitable, booming sectors. Their employees are often not only well paid, but actually better paid than other sectors. Consumers are spending more money than ever on the creative industries, which directly correlates to the amount of money that people are paid in that industry. So the more you guys spend time gaming, the more you're driving those salaries up. So keep doing what you're doing. Young people are keeping the industries alive. Fourth myth is that these industries are small and competitive and they don't grow. Absolutely not true. The creative industries is growing at an incredible speed, which means that they're hugely future-proof. So the creative industries is actually growing 5 times faster than the rest of the UK economy. So every single year, we have 5 times more jobs being generated than all of the other industries, which is really exciting. So there are a lot of opportunities and growing opportunities for the number of careers that are available. So finally, I want to end with a few points on creativity and tech, because tech is super high on everyone's agenda, as it should be. It's always being said that tech is the future, and that is absolutely the case. However, tech needs creativity and creativity needs tech. In the same way that being creative doesn't just mean drawing and painting, tech does not just mean coding. The two actually need each other very much so, and they're much bigger than what we are led to believe. So as I said before, creativity isn't defined as being linear anymore. Creativity and tech are increasingly becoming hybrids of each other. In fact, there is an entire subsector of the creative industries that's called createch. So this word over here, createch, which I highly recommend going and having a Google of. You can see here from this stat, createch alongside climate tech are the 2 fastest growing areas of tech, which is very exciting. So createch, so there's a whole subsector of the creative industries called createch, areas of the creative industries that require skills like digital marketing, digital content creation, editing, UX and UI. You guys might not know what that is. That's user experience. So if you guys have an app on your phone, it's someone who basically designs that app and makes sure that your user experience of it is as good as possible. So they'll make buttons smaller, they'll make buttons bigger, they'll put spacing between things. That's an entire huge section of the tech industry, and it's a creative section. So there are loads of skills and opportunities available in the createch area, and that is the future. So it is an area worth looking into, and a perfect example of why creativity isn't just performing and painting, and why tech isn't just coding. The two are very much interlinked together. So that is what we're on a mission to do, to bring more awareness to careers in the creative industries, starting by spreading the word about what the creative industries actually looks like in 2023. And the huge world of career opportunities for you. You guys are already on the website, so I imagine you will already have had a look at this. Make sure to look at, if you haven't, make sure to look at our learning hub on the website, where you can explore the worlds of these 16 different creative industries in more detail. There's access to helpful industry created resources for schools, as well as lesson plans, all of that kind of stuff. If you guys are ready to think about taking that next step towards getting experience in the creative industries, let's say you're like, I know that I want to work in the creative industries, I have an idea of the industries I might want to go into, but I don't really know what jobs exist kind of on a more tangible level. That's what we've created the app for. People who are thinking about leaving school or taking steps towards, internships or maybe even apprenticeships, or maybe even your first job. Our free app is designed for you to find things that will help you gain experience in the different creative industries on your doorstep. We collect together all of the local opportunities that you should be knowing about that will help you get a job in the creative industries eventually. And we gather them together all on our app so you can browse really easily and quickly things that might be relevant to you in your area. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I know this has been a hefty one. However, I hope you've learned loads about the creative industries. Feel free to drop me a line if you have any questions. And please do have an explore of the website.